Hi, I'm Navya. So we'll continue the same chapter that we had discussed in the last video of this physiology. So here we have discussed about the cell, the structure of the cell, and also we have discussed the component, the elements which are present in the cell. So we were discussing in the topic that is about the desmosome. We'll continue from here only. Yeah. So the desmosomes, this is an animal cell. So this contains the junction that is the desmosome. That junction is the desmosome. So that acts like a spot wells between the adjacent epithelial cells. And this desmosomes that involves the complex of the protein. Some of these proteins will be extend across the membrane. So while other that will be anchor the junction that will be within the cell itself. Cadherins. So this is the specialized adhesion proteins that are found that will be in the on the membranes of both the cells and that will interact in the space that between them. So that holding the membrane bit together. And also inside the cell, this cadherins this may attach to the structure that was called as the cytoplasmic that will be the red in the image at the right side. So that connects to the intermediate filaments and that also helps in anchor the junction. Yeah, stem cells. So what are the stem cells? The stem cells are the special human cells. So what does it do means it develop into a different types of the cell from the muscle cell itself to the brain cell. So from muscle to the brain cell. So what are the stem cells? Here the stem cells also have the ability to repair the damaged one. And so those cells that having will be very strong healing power and also can evolve into any types of cell. Researchers are also going on, and it is believed that the stem cell therapies can also cure. The stem cell therapies also can cure the ailments like the paralysis and the Alzheimer's as well as. So here there's a detailed one about the stem cells. Yes, this is stem cells, a nerve and cell, blood cell, liver cell, and muscle cell. These are the elements. So here there will be the part of the cell. So embryonic stem cells will be there, and the adult stem cells, and induced pluripotent stem cells, and also mesenchyme stem cells. So here let us discuss on the embryonic stem cell. So here the fertilized cell that will begins to divide immediately. It starts dividing immediately in this embryonic stem cells, and also the all of the cells will be in the young embryo. Those are the totipotent cells. The young cells, it is called the totipotent cells, and that cells that form the hollow structure for within a few days. Within a few days, it forms a hollow structure. And these cells that also form hollow structure for the few days, so that cell will be in one region. So that will be in the one region group, and also together that forms an inner cell mass, and it contains pluripotent the cells that make up with a very developing fetus. And also with the major classification here we have under this is the pluripotent stem cells, the classification. So here this it can differentiate into so all the possible type of the stem cells. And this pluripotent stem cells. So these will be from the early embryo. So that can be differentiated into the any cell type. Then we have the multipotent stem cell. So here, these differentiate into a closely related cell type. So for example, the hemopotent stem cells, those are differentiate into the blood cells and also maybe the WBC. So RBC or the WBC, it will may differ. Oligopotent stem cells that will be in the adult lymphocyte or the myeloid cells, those are obligopotent. So they can also differentiate into the few different types of the cells. And another we have unipotent stem cells. So here, what does it do? It will produce the cells that only of their own type, and also since they have very different ability to renew themselves, and they are also known as the unipotent stem cells. For example, the muscle stem cells. Those are the examples. And let us know the other stem cells. So here in this stem cells, so these will be obtained from the developed organs and the tissues. What does it do? Means they will repair. So they can repair or replace. What they can replace means they can replace the damaged tissue in the region so where they are located. Example like hematopotent stem cells that will be found in the bone marrow, and these stem cells, what is they are used is in the bone marrow transplants and also to treat the specific types of the cancer. So this other stem cells will be used. So stem cells pluripotency, this will be used. So here these cells will be tested, and those are arranged by converting tissues that will be specific cells into the embryo cells in the lab. And also what is these cells will do means this will be accepted a very important tool that will be used to learn about the normal development, onset and progression of the disease, and also very helpful in the testing of the various drugs. And also these system cells, these share some characteristics as the embryo cells. So as the embryonic cells also. Then mesenchymal stem cells we have. So here, so these cells, those are formed from the connecting tissue. So from the connecting tissue, those are formed, and that will be surrounding to the other tissues, organs, that is known as a stoma. And also the stem cells will be accurately that is called as the stromal cells. So here the first vesicular stem cells are accurately called as stromal cells, and that will be found in the bone marrow. The first mesenchyma will be found in the bone marrow, and that will be very capable. So it is found in the bone marrow, and that will be capable of developing the bones, fat cells, and the cartilage. And also there are like different mesenchymal stem cells will be there. So those are used to treat the various diseases such as they can be like developed from the different tissues of the human body. And the characteristics of the mesenchymal that stem cells, the characteristics of that will be depend on the organ form from where they can originate. And applications of the stem cells. So what are the applications is we have a tissue regeneration. Yeah. So tissue regeneration in the case here, so this is the most important applications of the stem cells, that is the tissue regeneration. So here the stem cells will be there. No, so that stem cells that will be can use to grow a specific type of the tissue or the organ. And also it will be very helpful for the kidney and the liver transplants. And the doctor also what they used to tell is they also um, have been used the stem cells from the benefits of the epidermis, the skin related tissues, skin related issues that can be repaired skin when it is caused by the burning issues, when the event is caused by any injury, the burning. And also it is used for the treatment of the cardiovascular disease. So here, cardiovascular disease means this the team of researchers what they will do once they have developed this blood vessels in mice that will be using human stem cells. So within the 2 weeks, the implantation, the blood vessel will be formed, the network, and also it will be very efficient as a natural vessels. And also the most important thing is the treatment for the brain disease. So this stem cells, this is also used to treat the disease such as the Parkinson disease and Alzheimer's disease. So that will help to replenish the damaged brain cells. It will replace, and also the most of the researchers have also tried to differentiate these embryonic stem cells into many types cells, and they also make it a possible to treat the disease that is the brain disease. Other we have the blood disease treatment. So here, the adult hematopotent stem cells, this will be used to treat the cancer and the sickle cells anemia and also other immunodeficiency disease. And so these stem cells can be also used to produce the RBC as well as the WBC. And source of the stem cells. So here we have the source of the stem cells, that is this stem cells will originate from different parts of the body. So here the adult stem cells though can be found in the specific tissue in the human body, and also the mature cells were there. So those mature cells are specialized to conduct the various functions generally, and these cells can develop into the kinds of the cell that will be found in the tissue. Embryonic stem cells, those are derived from the 5-day-old blastocytes. So that develop into the embryology and also in the pluripotent in the nature. And these cells can also develop any type of the cells and the tissues in the body. These cells have the potential to regenerate the cells, all the cells and the tissues that can have lost because of any kind of the injury. And also the cell aging. So here, what will happen in the sense that the cells will be gone through the natural life cycle. So that includes like a growth, maturity, and the death. The cells keeps on entering all the stages. And here, the natural life cycles that will be regulated by the number of the factors and the disruption of the cycle that is involved in many different states. That is a cell aging. And here cell aging, here one of the example is that the cancer cell. So what does it do when the cancer cell do not die? What will happen here? It keeps on multiplying the way normal it won't be a similar way like a normal cell. It is a cancer cell, it keeps on multiplying, it doesn't die, it won't die. So it keeps on multiplying in a programmed manner. And the cellular senescence, so this is the part of the normal aging of the diploid cell where it loses the ability of the divider. And what happened here, some sources that suggest that the senescence occurs via the programmed gene expression changes, or does it is a result of the accumulation of the DNA, that is the trouble starch breaks over of the toxic substances. And we have also have the programmed cell that happens naturally. So that will be the result of the cascade of the signal that will be within the cell itself. And also the most common form of the programmed cell death, that is apoptosis, that plays a very important role in the population control, and also it prevents the massive cell growth, which includes the possibility of the tumor. And also we have anacosis. So here, anacosis, this is a specific type of the apoptosis that is induced by the lack of the correct cell. That correct cell will be attached to the extracellular matrix. And also here the importance of anacosis, that will be the scene when the cancer cells that will be keep on multiplying. And here autophagy. So this is another type of the programmed cell death. So here what will happen in the sense in with the cells that owns the integral machinery, so that will be degraded by its lysosome. And also it is theorized that this process it also occur for the reason for the self-preservation of the organism, and also to allow the organism to conserve the resource to be allocated by anywhere of in the body. And it is known another concept that is the transport across a cell membrane. So here we know that the cell membrane is one of the great multitasker of the biology, and it provides the structure for the cell, and also it protects the cytosolic contents from the environment, and also it allows the cell to act as specialized unit. So here, let us do the semi-permeability. Some cells function will be the best at the pH level of the 5. So while others will be better at functioning of the pH level 7. And the steroid hormone will be there. So that steroid hormone, that is very made up of the adrenal gland. So what does it affect? Means it affects the mostly to the kidney, the adrenal gland, and the cell membranes will be semi-permeable. So that meaning they have control over what molecules can and cannot pass through. What happened here? Some molecules they can just drift in and out, while other it requires some special structure to get in and out of the cell. So while some molecules even need us an energy to boost up to go out of it, that is semi-permeable. And the moment here we have the movement across the membrane and the energy. So when you come across this energy, there are like two major ways will be there that the molecules can be moved across the membrane, and also it can distinguish as to be with the weather or very hot cell energy will be used. And the passive mechanism like the diffusion that will be used with the no energy, while active transport that requires energy, passive no energy. Here it requires energy in the active transportation. The next concept is a diffusion. So simple and facilitated diffusion. Two different types we are going to learn now. So diffusion. So this diffusion is nothing but the movement of the particles. So here the movement of the particles inside the water. So that will be down their gradient. So this gradient is a very imbalanced one. In the concentration, it's not an imbalanced way. You can see in the beakers of here, it are like different, moving down or moving up. That will be distributed throughout the beaker. And here the molecules mostly like will be involved in the simple diffusion in a waterway can easily pass through a cell membrane. It can easily pass through the cell membrane. When water undergoes here, that means a simple diffusion, that is known as a osmosis. Let us know the simple diffusion. So here the simple diffusion in the sense the molecules, what happen to the molecules is, so that practice a simple diffusion, the molecules that practice simple diffusion, that means that we must be having a small and a non-polar one, that is in order to pass through the membrane. In simple diffusion, that can be disrupted if the diffusion distance is increased, and if the alveoli in our lungs, if it is filled with the fluid, that distance of gases that must be traveled increases, and the transport will be decreasing. Transport will be decreasing. So the and also we have a facilitated diffusion. So facilitated diffusion in the sense, so those are the diffusion that will be helped along the with the member transport channel. So that channels are glycoproteins, that proteins in the sense with the carbohydrates attached with it. And also it allows the molecules to just pass through the membrane. Through the membrane, it will just allow to pass it. And these channels are always almost specific. That will be either certain molecules, otherwise a certain type of the molecule. So this is ion challenge. And facilitated diffusion, this is a diffusion that will be held for the membrane of the transportation. Both are here the same content is it. And next is the ATP. So your ATP stands for the energy molecule. This is the energy molecule. When hydrolysis happens, so this will get broken down, and it will release the energy that was stored in the chemical bonds. So that transporter directly uses the ATP for the energy consideration. That is a primarily active transports, and also we have a secondary active transport that moves, so multiples the molecules across the membrane, so that covering the uphills of the movement of the one molecules, and that with the uphills and also the downhills of the other. So the body fluid compartments, those can be measured by the dilution of the compound that distributed only in the space of the interest. And the indicated dilution dot principle, that will be based on the definition of the concentration. And if the amount of the substance is known, or for example, if the concentration is very measured, then the volume of it will be calculated such as that concentration that is equal to the amount by the volume. So that volume is nothing but the amount added by the change in the concentration. This approach that assumes like the compound distributes only in the space, and that are not interested in measuring of the concentration measure that represent the average concentration. And also the blood volume represent a unique case here, so that contains both intracellular water and then extracellular the fluid both. And the blood volume that represents approximately 8% of the total water, total body water, or about the 5 liter. So that completes the chapter first, that is the general physiology, and this is for the paramedical student for the second year of the students.